And I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining me here. There's been some major updates that I wanted to be able to bring up. If you've been following the channel at all, you know that I haven't posted a video in over a year. And honestly, kind of the reason I started this YouTube channel was because I saw there was a huge demand for information about the leisure travel van Wonder that I purchased about, what would that be, 15 months ago. Actually, 15 months ago today, to be specific. So I posted the walkthrough video on there just to see if people would gain interest, and there was a lot of interest. And so I kind of kept, posting some videos of our travels, and then took a lot of time off simply because there were a lot of other things that I was keeping busy with. And I do have a couple other YouTube channels that I'm a part of, and I also have a full-time job on top of that. So I kind of just really stopped, creating content, which is never a good thing for a YouTube channel or whatever you want to call the conglomerate of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, social media. I hate the word influencer because that's not what I'm going for. I want to be more of just like kind of an educator and provide good educational, informational content in a way that might also be entertaining. So that's kind of my goal with what I want to do. And honestly, I want to hear from you guys and find out what is it exactly that you might like to be able to see come from the Scenic Explorer in the future. I like to make videos and content that I enjoy, but if there's not people out there to take in the content on the other side, it's not really worth it for me. So the point of today, again, is for me to kind of give you an update on all of the things that have been going on, as well as inform you of some new rigs with an S that I might be talking about, as well as kind of some decisions that led me down this path. And this is meant to be interactive, so if you do have any questions throughout the live stream today, please throw them in the chat. I am live on YouTube and Facebook at the same time, so go ahead and throw them in the chat, and I will definitely address them. So I do want to let you know that I no longer own a leisure travel van product. And I know a lot of you subscribe to the channel probably because either you were prospective buyers of a leisure travel van, or you owned a leisure travel van and you were just looking for content to maybe, to watch, to entertain, to educate about your specific rig. But if you're new to this, about actually, as I mentioned before, exactly 17 months ago, I had purchased a leisure travel van Wonder. It was a 2020, but it was on the 2020 chassis, so it was almost the same as the 2021. It was on the new gas chassis, and it was kind of a rough start. I believe that most of that had to do with the dealer and not the leisure travel van itself, because as anybody knows, leisure travel vans quality in their fit and finish, customer service, and everything it's up here. It's really hard to match. And I loved it. Absolutely loved the Wonder. My wife and I took many trips on it. I took many trips alone with it. I think I had about 9,000 miles put on it, but it wasn't without its share of issues. If you watch any of my previous videos, you know that when I had placed an order for I technically didn't place an order. The dealership had an incoming unit that I had put a deposit down and was going to buy, obviously, when it came in. Well, everything that I had put down was based on it being a 2021, and it came in as a 2020. Now, the dealer and I worked something out to where I feel like financially it still made sense to go through with, and we were still happy with that. But then there were problems with the refrigerator. There was problems with the dealership doing some warranty repairs and making further damages to the vehicle. There was issues with one of the rear doors. There were just quite a few issues that I don't think was a reflection on the quality of leisure travel van. Again, I think it had more to do with the dealer that I was purchasing it from. But regardless, I did end up recently just trading that in. But before we talk about what I traded it in for, I want to rewind a few months back, and this would have been in August. So For a year prior, we had the Leisure Travel Van Wonder, me, my wife, and my dog. We took many trips, as I mentioned. We absolutely loved it. What I do want to say, though, is that it got us kind of, we got bit by the RV lifestyle bug, right? And we wanted to really embrace it more. Now, everybody has their own take on what RVing is, right? Some people do it, they're what they call weekend warriors, and it's people that work full time, maybe have families, and they'll go out a couple weekends a year, maybe take a week off a year, and they're just trying to fit it in on the side. They don't combine that with their work or their kind of like personal day-to-day life. They just do it as a source of vacation. I have a little bit of a different philosophy where I don't like the term vacation per se, because I feel like when you use the term vacation, what you're saying is I need to vacate from something I don't like to move into something I do like. And if you spend 99% of your time doing the thing that you don't like, that you're trying to vacate from, to me, that's, I don't know, that's just not, I don't think you're setting yourself up for a very happy, fulfilling life. So I look at RVing as the ability to travel to enhance. And obviously, you can fly places, you can drive places in a car and stay in hotels, but when you do it in an RV, you're contained. You have your home with you. You have your comforts with you anywhere you go, and you have a lot of freedom and flexibility with what you can do given the RV lifestyle. Obviously, there's some trade-offs there too, which everybody knows, but that's one of the reasons that we fell in love with it. And what we wanted to do was also work from the road. Luckily, my wife and I, we work full-time remotely, and technically we can work from wherever as long as we have a reliable internet connection. So what we found was that the Leisure Travel Wonder was great for maybe a couple weeks tops with our work schedule. We do work standard hours, Monday through Friday, variation of 9 to 5. We do need our own private areas because we are on phone calls a lot. We are on camera a lot. And we found that the Wonder, you had to make a lot of sacrifices to be able to make that work. So we had considered a couple different options. We actually even purchased a small little like 2,000-pound travel trailer to pull behind and see if that worked. It really didn't do the job that we were looking for, and it kind of defeated the purpose of having a leisure travel van, because the whole point of the leisure travel van is to give you a well-engineered small RV that can still sustain you for long periods of time. So really, what we ended up doing is realizing that if we wanted to embrace this lifestyle more, we would have to go and get either a larger Class C or a Class A. And really, it was between a Super C and a Class A for us, just because we felt like we wanted something that was a little bit better quality than we saw in a lot of the Class Cs that were out there. No judgment against Class Cs. They're fantastic. I mean, technically, the Leisure Travel Van is a Class C. We just didn't find anything that we wanted. The other requirements for this was for us to be able to have laundry in the coach. So right there, now that basically turns it into, you need a larger coach in order to accommodate that. You typically don't see anything under, I don't know, let's say 35 feet that has laundry built into it. So we knew it was going to have to be a large one. We also wanted to have 2 distinct work areas that were very comfortable, where we could spread out and were separated by a physical barrier that could act as a sound barrier. And ideally, we also wanted at least a bath and a half, but preferably 2 full baths. So as you can tell, our list of requirements immediately took us to a very large vehicle. And so we ended up going with a 2022 Thor Challenger 37DS. And this motorhome, this Class A, is almost 40 feet long. It is with the new Ford F-53 chassis that has the Godzilla V8 engine on it, gas. So it's not diesel; it is gas. And we, without doing a shakedown, took it on a 6-week trip, leaving I think 3 or 4 days after we purchased it. At the same time, we also purchased a small tow dolly so that we could tow our SUV behind us as well. And I have to say, overall, I'm pretty happy with that decision. What I want to do is kind of pull up the Thor website, and so that we can actually take a look at the Challenger 37DS and kind of talk through it a little bit. As you can see by the floor plan here, another requirement is we wanted to be able to have a bunk over the cab. And I'm glad we went with that decision because it does give you an additional sleeping area. And it is nice. And it really, I don't feel like it takes away from the cab area, and it offers you a little bit more. So I'm glad that was in there. This does have 3 full slides on it. It does have a full king size bed, which is a tilt-to-view bed, which has its pros and its cons. And as you can see, it has 2 full baths. So I can have my own bath and my wife can have her own bath, which is very ideal. There are also some pros and cons about that, right? I have 2 separate holding tanks, which means 2 separate areas you have to dump from. So that gets a little, it's just additional work, but I still think overall it's worth the hassle. The dinette area up front is fantastic. It's great to sit at. It's very comfortable, and it also acts as a really good work area. That's where my wife spends her time working. And directly across from that, you can either get a sofa or the optional theater seating, and we ended up with the optional theater seating. And I'm kind of 50-50 on that. I do like the optional theater seating because you can kick out your feet and kind of recline, which is nice. But you lose a place to really kind of just like lay down in the front area if you wanted to. I think if we would have gone with the 68-inch sofa, it would have been a little tight, but I feel like you could, you could lay fully across it. And another thing, as I mentioned before, was we wanted laundry. So it does have washer and dryer combo prep area. We did have to purchase our combo washer and dryer separately, and we did get a vent and ventless one. You can do either one, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. And we're very happy that we made that decision. It looks like we have a question here from Tim Hart on YouTube. And Tim asks, did you trade your Leisure for the Thor? We didn't. And I was going to go over that in a minute, but I think it's worthwhile mentioning now. As we all know, RV prices are through the roof. Used RVs are sometimes increasing in value. And at the time that we purchased the Thor Challenger, the values of used leisure travel vans were going up and up and up and up, higher than what we paid for it. So the trade offer that we were offered at that time was not the most ideal, even with the tax incentive that we would have had. So we decided to hold on to it for a little bit. And I'm glad we made that decision. And I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit here, Tim. But thank you so much for that question. And if you guys have any more questions, please let me know. Kind of going on with the Thor. This bunk bed area right here that you can see my mouse pointer going around, this was also a big draw for me. And the reason being is because I converted it into a makeshift office. Now I'm going to be doing some more permanent changes here coming up in a little bit to make it more ideal. But what I was able to do was completely remove the top bunk, just put one of those little white card tables in there temporarily, set up my computer workspace, and basically got a tall, I think they're called a drafting chair, those really tall ones. And I was able to use that as my office. And what's great is right here, you have a door, a sliding door, as well as right here. So you're separated off from both the bathroom and the front living area. So that way, while I'm working, I have total privacy when I'm back there, which is absolutely amazing. And like I said, I'm going to be doing a video in the future when I actually build my semi-permanent desk. I think I'm going to make it to where I can always restore the bunk area back to normal. But I'm going to be doing a video as I kind of build out a desktop and configure my desk setup. The other advantage to it is in front of the bunk beds are actually 2 doors that close that give you complete privacy in there. Well, at the end of the day, I just throw my chair in there on the bottom bunk and I shut the doors, and now my office is out of sight. So it really works well as an office, and I'm excited to do a video to show you guys exactly what I mean there. So that's why we went with this floor plan. It does have an 8,000-pound hitch, so we could easily tow a small to mid SUV. And honestly, I love the look of it. The exterior of it is absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to go through the 360-degree model here so you guys can see. These are the same colors that we have in ours as well. As I mentioned, this living area here, this is where my wife likes to work. Up above, you can see there is a drop-down bunk over the cab, which is motorized, real easy to use. And if we go back here, this is the bedroom area. Washer and dryer goes in here, so we still have tons of storage for clothing and things like that. And here's the bunk bed / office. So as I mentioned, I took the mattress out of the bottom. I took the mattress and the board completely out of here, and that's what I turned into my desktop. So for longer term trips, absolutely fantastic. Of course, there's trade-offs with a Class A, right? It's 40 feet long. With the SUV behind it, it's probably, it's definitely over 50 feet. A lot of campsites that you go to might have size restrictions, which you have to be kind of careful with. So you really have to plan out your trips a lot more. And I'm going to do a video in the future too, talking a little bit about an experience I had going over the Smoky Mountains on day 2 of our trip in the Class A, and how you should always trust your RV specific navigation, and why it's important, because I learned a really hard lesson that I think you guys should learn about. So overall, we're very happy with our choice to get the Challenger. Now, again, this is a Thor product, and anybody out there that's ever purchased from Thor know that even their high-end coaches are still priced to sell. And I think, I can't confirm this, guys, this is purely speculation, but I think Thor's philosophy is, let's just knock out as many of these RVs as we possibly can, knowing that there's going to have to be warranty work that we're going to have to pay for on the back end. So it's almost like, rather than spend 10 hours on it up front, let's spend 5 now and 15 in the future. Obviously, Thor, if they're not the largest, they're one of the largest RV manufacturers. And I know they own a bunch of other companies too underneath them. So it's working. And I think right now there's such a high demand for RVs that they can get away with it. But I will tell you, the fit and finish of our Challenger was nowhere near what we got with our leisure travel van Wonder. In the first 6 weeks of owning it on our trip, I found 22 screws throughout the coach that were loose, that were gone. They were out. I have no idea where they came from. I no clue. 22. And the only reason I know that is because every time I found a screw, I put it in a little cup, because I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll need this in the future. No idea where it came from. 22 different screws. So you can tell that the care and quality put into building and manufacturing them is not the greatest. Now, overall, I'm happy with the quality. Again, it's not great. It's nowhere near leisure travel, but I've definitely seen worse RVs out there. So that's kind of the trade-off that you have to go through, in my opinion, in ordering a Thor product. Now, again, this is a 40-foot Class A and a gas, so it's at the top end of a gas Class A motorhome, and the price point, I think, is really in alignment with the quality that we got. It wasn't cheap, but it definitely was not the most expensive when it comes to gas, and definitely diesel. I mean, that's like a whole step above, add $100,000 off the bat just from it being a diesel. So overall, we're very happy that we got that. We're going to be doing more trips here. We're going to be going to the Panhandle come the end of the month for, about a month or so, Panhandle of Florida. And I'm excited. It's exactly what we want, to be able to do these longer trips to where we can both work and explore. So that's ultimately what we went with. In the meantime, I had listed a leisure travel van for sale, and I had a couple prospective buyers, and things just didn't pan out. And frankly, I didn't really have the time to really market it well and coordinate selling it and all that stuff. And knowing that I was going to get rid of the Leisure, it still left a little bit of a hole in what I wanted to do when it comes to traveling with an RV. And so I was trying to think of, well, should we keep the Leisure? Does that make sense? And what we came down to is that it didn't. And here's why. Number one, as we know, leisure travel vans, they're not the cheapest, 24-foot RVs that you can get out there, but they're also not the most expensive. And down here I live in Naples, Florida, to store an RV because you have to go to a 40-foot spot. You can't fit it in a 20-foot spot. So you have to go to a 40-foot spot. Prices have skyrocketed in the last year and a half. The site that I had the Leisure parked at, that I got almost a year and a half ago, doubled in price for me to be able to park it there. And so that alone was not ideal, because now we have to pay to park the Thor Challenger. So now we have to get a second spot, and that didn't sit well with me. Our driveway is big enough to park the Leisure in the driveway and still be able to use our garage and everything. But the problem is our HOA doesn't allow for it to be there more than 2 days before or after a trip. And I still wanted a vehicle that I could take for little weekend getaways if we're traveling longer distances and maybe we just want to boondock for a night, but we're going to be staying at a hotel or at a resort or with friends. I still wanted a vehicle that we could use for that. And also, I don't know if I mentioned this before or not, but I go to a lot of pickleball tournaments, both as a player as well as part of video production crews. And I like to be able to just have a vehicle that I can stay at right in the parking lot of wherever I'm at. And by getting rid of the Leisure, we were going to lose that. And I didn't really want that. So with that being said, I started to look at B vans. Now, originally when I started to look at the Leisure travel van, I was looking at B vans. In fact, I believe I even had money down on a Winnebago Era. And I'm kind of glad it didn't work out, because I'm happy that I went with the Leisure. But I wanted a B van, and I wanted it to be small, so under 22 feet. That way you can park it in normal spots, and it would fit in our driveway, no problem. Oh, by the way, the HOA rules in the community I live in, because it's a van, that's allowed to leave in your driveway. But because it's not necessarily like a true RV according to those rules. So that's why I can just leave it in the driveway full time, which is nice, and not have to worry about paying for parking, anything like that. I wanted the ability to sleep for two. I wanted nice quality. I wanted to be able to have a wet bath, and I wanted to be able to have a electric fridge, a compressor fridge, not those crappy 3-way absorption fridges. Anybody out there, if you're watching, throw a comment below whether you love or hate absorption fridges. I hate them. Yes, it's great that you can use propane to be able to power your fridge. But I have just had nothing but issues with them, and I hate them. I want to get I wish they would stop making them altogether. And I feel like the quality is always crappy. Even my Leisure travel van, I went through 2 fridges and they were both awful. I wanted a kitchen, so that way you can prepare meals, that had a convection microwave as well as a cooktop. And I wanted decent storage. And then I wanted the ability to upgrade the electrical system, as I did in the Leisure travel van, where I upgraded it, threw in some lithium batteries, made it completely where I could run all electronics from the inverter. I wanted to do the same thing with the camper van that I was going to purchase. So I did trade the Leisure travel van in just this past weekend to get into a new B van. And I will tell you, typically trade-ins are not as great as what you can sell for in the private market, right? But you also have the tax incentive by trading in, because you don't pay sales tax if you're buying a vehicle that's above and beyond, I believe, the initial price. I'm not a tax guy, so take this with a grain of salt. But I knew that with this deal, I wasn't going to have to pay taxes on it. And I was able to trade in the Leisure travel van for significantly more than what I paid for it 17 months ago, and apply it towards a 2022 Integra Ethos 20T, which is basically a B van, which is built on the the Ram ProMaster chassis. And I got to say, guys, if Leisure Travel Vans quality is here and Thor quality is here, Integra I would put right about here. So above the halfway point between the two. And so far, I'm very happy with what I have. I know that Integra has had a lot of criticism after they were purchased by Jayco within the last 3 to 5 years, I believe. There was a lot of criticism about them saying, oh, is the quality going to suffer, things like that. It's not as nice as Leisure Travel. The fit and finish is not as nice, but I will tell you overall, it's much better. And I want to pull up the website here so we can kind of walk through the ethos as well. There are 2 floor plans that you can get. There's a 20A, which is a little bit different style. And then there's the 20T. This is the one here that I got. As you can see, it has a wet bath in the rear, which to me, if you're going to get a B van and you value having a nice, spacious bathroom, this configuration is the only way to go. Taking the full width of the coach while still giving you tons of wardrobe storage, I think is a very efficient way to give you a nice bathroom. And having it in the rear means that all this area up front feels very open. Typically when I go into B vans, what I don't like is when you have the bathroom kind of right in the middle of the RV, like you have here in the 20A. It kind of cuts it off and it makes it look like 2 really small areas inside of it. Some people really like that, and I understand why. For me, though, I like to have something that feels a little bit more open. It's actually kind of a complaint that I had about the Leisure Travel Van Wonder, is that I feel like you had 2 small areas, and there's a lot of advantages to it, but overall, I like having a little bit more of that open feeling, and that's what I got from this. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the 360-degree view because I think this is where it's going to show just how nice the inside of this looks. Oh, that's kind of weird that they have the seat belts all hanging out and this thing covering it. Come on, Integra, clean it up. But anyway, both of the seats do swivel around. Obviously, when you swivel this seat here around, you're not going to be able to swivel it fully or else your knees are going to be banging into this. So you can kind of put it at an angle. But this seat here, it does swivel fully around. And then right here is a little pull-up desktop. So you pull this up and it lays out, and it's a decent size little, I don't even know, little tabletop that you can use. It fits a laptop, no problem. I've been able to use a laptop with a keyboard and mouse in there. And it's actually a really great work area. Coming around here to the kitchen, obviously you do have a sink with a bunch of cool little accessories and stuff in there. A 2-burner Dometic cooktop, a Norcold 12-volt and 120-volt fridge, as well as a convection microwave. Plenty of storage there as well. And as you can see, it does have 2 long couch / beds, basically, with seatbelts for 2 additional people. There is a table that you can use to make into a bed, and you can also set it up to make as like a working or cooking area as well. Storage underneath here, a little TV. It does have the Firefly system here as well. So it has a lot of the things that I wanted. And as I mentioned, this bathroom is spectacular with plenty of wardrobe storage here, so you can hang clothes in it. And to me, anytime you can hang clothes in a B van, you're doing pretty good. It feels incredibly spacious in there. It's just I'm very happy with the fit and finish. I'm happy with the turnout. I'm happy with the layout. I'm just really happy overall with all of it. Now, not everything was great. Integra had an issue because they had a shortage of generators. So a lot of their ethoses and other small, well, I guess it's the Ethos and the Jayco Swift. They're both the same. It's just one's Jayco, one's Integra. They had a bunch that were 99% complete, and the last thing they were waiting on were generators for Onan Cummins. And as you guys know, there's a shortage in the RV industry on generators. Well, when my coach came in, the generator actually didn't work. So I think they slapped one in there and sent it on its way. And so that did have to get officially repaired after the fact. There were a couple other little cosmetic things that needed to be resolved, but overall, way less warranty items off the bat than I did have with my Thor Challenger. Now, obviously, it's also much less of a size. It's much smaller, so I would expect that the amount of stuff to go wrong with it would be less. And with a Class A, the RV manufacturer in a Class A builds and installs so much more than they do in a B van, because the B van, you're using the auto manufacturer's chassis as the whole entire frame for it, and you're adding on after the fact, which does add more complication and it's much more challenging. But overall, I do feel like the quality is very, very high, and I'm excited about it. I also love the look of it. So again, I can park this in my driveway without breaking any HOA rules. I can almost use it as a second vehicle because it is, 3 to 4 feet smaller than the leisure travel van. I've parked it into some spots that the leisure travel van would have never fit into. It is more narrow. I believe it's almost 2 feet more narrow than the leisure travel van as well. So keeping it in the driveway, it's easy to get the other car in and out of the garage. Overall, I'm super happy. And I'm going to be doing a bunch of upgrades to the Ethos as well. I'm going to be putting in a whole new electrical system. I have a whole bunch of ideas. I'm going to be upgrading the suspension. There's a lot of stuff that I'm going to be doing myself that I'm going to be making videos on. And so I wanted to give you guys an update there. But ultimately, I wanted to just propose this question out to all the viewers and just ask, what do you guys want to be able to see? There's a lot of YouTube channels on RV living, RV upgrades. There's a lot of podcasts out there on it. And now that I have a Class A and a Class B that kind of goes after two very different markets, I want to be able to provide content, as I mentioned before, that's informative, that's entertaining, and that's educational. And so I'm asking you guys the question, what do you want to see? Do you want to see me as I put in a lot of these electrical upgrades? Do you want to see me as I'm, as we're going on trips, more vlog style videos? I don't really know what the right answer is. As I mentioned, I do have a couple other YouTube channels out there that are more geared towards pickleball. This one is just more geared towards, RV living, RV upgrades, van life, all that stuff. So what do you guys want to see? That's what I want to be able to know. Please just let me know down in the comments below, because I really do, as I mentioned, I want to make this channel something that's informative and valuable to everybody out there. And I do want to thank you for all of those that have subscribed, because I had my leisure travel van wonder. I hope you do stick around. I do plan on having more conversations around leisure travel vans and why I feel like Triple E Leisure Travel Vans is such an exceptional company, but maybe some issues or concerns that I have about them in the future. I definitely am going to be talking a lot about build quality, and I'm going to be doing a lot of upgrades that I want to be able to share with you. So definitely let me know. A couple videos that I know off the bat that I'll be doing. I'm going to be doing electrical upgrades in both the Thor Challenger as well as the Integra Ethos. I'm going to be putting some Battleborn batteries in both, 2 different style batteries, which I'm really excited about. I'm going to be including the Victron Turbo GX as well as the little Victron touch panels in each of them, so I can control the entire electrical system. As I mentioned, I'm going to be putting upgrades to the Ethos for the suspension. I'm also going to be converting the little bunk area to a full-time office in the Challenger, and I got plenty of other ideas. So if that sounds entertaining to you, please stick around. Let me know what you guys think. I look forward to it, as well as potentially doing a podcast, whether it's live video, whether it's just recorded and released after the fact. What is it that you guys feel is missing in the RV industry right now and that you want to see? That's what I want you to let me know. I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in today. If you do have any questions, you can always post them in the comments. You can check me out on Instagram at Scenic Explorer. You can check me out on Facebook at Scenic Explorer. You can email Eddie at the Scenic Explorer with any questions, comments, feedback, anything like that. And honestly, guys, I'm just excited to be able to do this with you. See you soon.